Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2025-2026 laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239. 1. Approves the issuance of a sum of 2,538,293,978,440 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect to the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3, Committee of Supply. 2. Makes the policy and financial resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper, and 3. Orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240. Consideration of the estimates in the Committee of Supply. Honorable Speaker, I would like to, first of all, as I move, begin by thanking members of Budget and Appropriations Committee for their diligence in processing the estimates that were brought before us. Honorable Speaker, budget making is the sole mandate of this House, and all members of this House participate in budget making through their departmental committees. Honorable Speaker, in the reviewing of these estimates, we listen to departmental committees represented by their chairmen. And I also want to thank them, Honorable Speaker, because departmental committees brought to us very, very progressive highlights of the programs that the government is implementing in various departments. Honorable Speaker, in the course of processing the estimates, we were able to listen to proposals from the departmental committee, some proposing changes, some staying the changes. Honorable Speaker, it is not in the DNA of Budget Committee to refuse to adopt changes brought by members of this House through their committees. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that as we are processing the estimates, there are some changes that the committee did not allow, but 99% of the changes were allowed. Some of the proposals that were not allowed by the committee involve reallocations of funds meant for fertilizer subsidy, Honorable Speaker. And, Honorable Speaker, as one of the cornerstones of this country, Honorable Speaker, agriculture remains one of the anchors of our economy. And even as I will talk later about some of the programs that have been funded, we did not believe that reallocating resources from the fertilizer subsidy was necessary. The other area that my committee did not adopt had to do with the reallocations touching on coffee cherry fund. Honorable Speaker, coffee is becoming one of the most strategic cash crops of our country, leading in foreign exchange, and also incomes to farmers is substantial. As a matter of fact, as I will be discussing some of the strategic allocations, you will notice that in one of the allocations, coffee development is one of the areas that we are putting more resources. Honorable Speaker, as I go to the content of the report, I would like to say that and thank National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, for the first time, we have revenue projections of National Treasury that is less than what has been projected by our own Parliamentary Budget Office. Honorable Speaker, Parliamentary Budget Office, our own, is a premier think tank. Actually, in this region, our Parliamentary Budget Office is leading Parliamentary Budget Office. In fact, in this region, regional parliaments are coming to us for benchmarking within that space. And our Budget Office has been leading in helping the regional parliaments to develop some of their ways of running budgets. And so, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank our Parliamentary Budget Office and National Treasury, because for the first time we are aligning our thinking. The thinking within Parliamentary Budget Office is that higher revenue projections has not been tenable. Even as we talk, Honorable Speaker, we are not being able to meet our revenue projections because we over-project. But for the first time, Honorable Speaker, the revenue projections given to us by Treasury is less than what our own PBU has projected. It means, therefore, Honorable Speaker, that we are making a more realistic budget, because revenue collection projected is what will determine what kind of programs you want to implement. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the CS Treasury, the new CS Treasury, because he's giving us a budget that is more realistic. Also, Honorable Speaker, that we are seeking to live within the confines of our means, that going forward, public debt is not going to be a solution for our problems. In the past, Honorable Speaker, we have been running very huge budgets and not factoring the fact that we have limited revenue sources. We end up running a very huge fiscal deficit. In this budget, Honorable Speaker, the fiscal deficit that we are applying is 4.5% to GDP. Remember, Honorable Speaker, that when we did supplementary 2 here, our fiscal deficit was 5.2. So we have moved downwards by over 0.7 basis points. So, Honorable Speaker, this shows that for the first time, the reality of broad-based government, which is more inclusive, approaching development in a more inclusive way, is becoming a reality. Honorable Speaker, as I move into some of the strategic areas where we have been able to put more resources. Honorable Speaker, as I said earlier, agriculture remains the most important cornerstone for this economy. And in these estimates, Honorable Speaker, we have continued as usual to appropriate resources for fertilizer subsidy. Fertilizer subsidy is the reason, Honorable Speaker, that we have been able to increase food production in the country. As we talk, Honorable Speaker, we have been able to produce more food, and that is the reason why the cost of living has come down and even inflation has been managed. So, Honorable Speaker, this budget appropriates 8 billion shillings for fertilizer subsidy. Honorable Speaker, you have recently seen the reforms that have been initiated in the sugar sector. To support those reforms, Honorable Speaker, this budget allocates 2 billion to support those reforms so that the sugar sector becomes profitable. For a long time, the sugar sector has been a loss-making endeavor where farmers deliver their cane to the millers, and in the end, it is the government that ends up paying those farmers. Honorable Speaker, those reforms that have been initiated are being funded to the tune of 2 billion so that that sector becomes self-reliant. Honorable Speaker, I mentioned about coffee sheriff fund. Coffee has become a strategic cash crop. In fact, Honorable Speaker, when we went round to engage in public participation, in the area of Nyanza, in the area of Rift Valley, in the area of Western, most farmers are abandoning their traditional cash crops and they want to move into coffee sector. As I said, the coffee sector is giving more returns, and also as a foreign exchange earner. Foreign exchange, Honorable Speaker, is going to be very, very important for our economy going forward. And therefore, most farmers are moving into coffee. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, Coffee Sheriff Fund is an investment which this Parliament has done in the past. It's in the wisdom of this Parliament again that we continue to fund Coffee Sheriff Fund, and we have allocated 2 billion shillings towards that. Honorable Speaker, I also mentioned that most farmers in those regions are trying to move away from other cash crops. They are engaging in what the budget report calls crop diversification. So in order to achieve that, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 2 billion shillings to help those farmers in those regions, farmers who want to move away from their traditional cash crops like maize, they want to go into coffee. We want to give them support so that they can be able to fully engage and support. Honorable Speaker, we need about 2.7 metric tons of coffee for export and for this market. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, we want to urge more farmers to go into coffee farming. Honorable Speaker, livestock insurance is also a very important sector that we believe we need to fund substantially, and in this budget we have allocated 2 billion shillings for livestock insurance. Honorable Speaker, on the area of education, capitation still remains one of the biggest items in this budget. And this budget has allocated 90 billion shillings for school capitation, for JSS, for secondary education, and for primary education. Honorable Speaker, you heard about the uproar that Treasury did not allocate resources for examination. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, you have allocated 5.9 billion for examinations. Honorable Speaker, examination is a process, and it starts with procuring of exam materials. It goes into logistics later on, and lastly, into payment of examiners. Honorable Speaker, the total vote for all that program is 12 billion. But for the start, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 5.9 billion so that this process goes on. In the course of time, this Parliament will be able to appropriate the other resources to support it fully. Honorable Speaker, we have resources for recruitment of 20,000 more JSS interns in this budget at 7.5 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, In the area of health, Honorable Speaker, we have appropriated resources for procurement of vaccines. Honorable Speaker, vaccines, as you know, is very, very important, and that this country must be self-reliant in the area of vaccines. We have appropriated 4.6 billion for that. Honorable Speaker, we are building a cancer center at Kisii Level 5 Referral Hospital that is going to cost 1 billion from this budget. Honorable Speaker, we have UHC health workers that have been demonstrating across the country for the last, I think, 1 year. Honorable Speaker, it is the determination of this House that those workers be now converted into permanent and pensionable terms. And in this budget, we have allocated 6.1 billion towards that. Honorable Speaker, this will be done only after thorough audit of the number of workers that exist. Because, Honorable Speaker, when these workers were hired, the number was 8,500. We have since established, Honorable Speaker, that some of these workers left the service, some counties hired them into permanent and pensionable terms, and the numbers have come down substantially. So, Honorable Speaker, the first thing that we have said here is that the Ministry of Health must first of all engage in thorough audit so that they'll be able to tell us how many of these workers are in their service before their contracts is turned into permanent and pensionable terms. Honorable Speaker, for a long time, the country is benefiting from rain-fed agriculture. And this has done so well, especially in the recent past, when we have been favored by too much rainfall. But, Honorable Speaker, this is not really reliable all the time. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 15 billion shillings to support irrigation programs across the country. We would like various parts of the country to engage in small-time irrigation projects that can continue to help the economy, even if we are suffering from lack of rainfall. Honorable Speaker, in the area of industry, the county aggregation industrial parks, which is a partnership between national government and counties, is a critical program that is intended to help regions harness and develop products that they produce. So, Honorable Speaker, in this budget, we have continued to allocate more resources towards this program, 4.6 billion that is allocated towards that, so that those programs in the counties, they can be concluded so that our people can be able to benefit from those programs. Honorable Speaker, there are so many Kenyans that are still landless, that do not have, government cannot be able to accommodate, give them land where they can be able to act their living. In this budget, we have allocated about 4 billion towards resettlement of landless Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, in the area of blue economy, the 6 counties in the coast and the 4 counties along the Lake Victoria have also benefited. An allocation of 5 billion shillings to help those fisher folks around the areas at Lake Victoria, that is Siaya County, Homa Bay County, Kisumu County, Migori County, and the other 6 counties in Coast, Kwale, Kilifi, yes, Busia also. Thank you. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Busia. So this allocation of 5 billion shillings is going to support the blue economy projects along Lake Victoria, and also along the Indian Ocean. Honorable Speaker, we have allocated resources for the transformative affordable housing program, which, as you know, Honorable Speaker, is intended to ensure that poor Kenyans afford decent housing. This is one of the programs, one of the major programs of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And this program is successful, Honorable Speaker. If you saw last week when the President was in Mukuru launching the program, it was beautiful. We believe that this program needs to continue, and this House has allocated, we have allocated about 95 billion towards that. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I would like to say, Honorable Speaker, that we have a broad-based government that is inclusive. And, Honorable Speaker, if you go through the budget estimates, you will see that we have distributed programs across the country. There is no part of the country that has been left behind. Even when you look at the infrastructure from Northeastern, from Garissa, from Mandera, we have at least a program in those areas. And this is the promise that the President gave. And we, as proponents of broad-based government, we want to say that we're living to that promise. And this budget is the first, the first of many that is going to restore hope to Kenyans and ensure that Kenyans feel that they are part and parcel of this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge members of this House to study the report and support it, because the report is huge. It has many other programs which I'm not able to highlight here in this opportunity. Let members support this budget proposal, which is before us, so that in the end, we will be able to have a more progressive country. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Seconded by who? Seconded by who?
Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask the Majority Leader to second.
Proceed, Majority Leader.
Thank you.